Gabrielle Jacobson is an influencer whose digital footprint is shadowed by severe, real-world consequences. If you track her online presence, you will quickly find a trail of Child Protective Services investigations, animal control interventions, and multi-state internet feuds that frequently spill out of the comment section and into the courtroom. Yet, despite a mountain of alarming physical evidence pointing directly to neglect and targeted harassment, Gabrielle consistently manages to evade any meaningful accountability. She accomplishes this by relying on a highly specific defense mechanism known as weaponized incompetence. Specifically, Gabrielle claims to have an IQ of 61. By asserting that she operates with the mental age and cognitive capacity of a young child, she builds a narrative where she cannot possibly be held responsible for her own actions. This low IQ defense paralyzes her critics and actively manipulates her audience. It traps onlookers in an uncomfortable moral dilemma, forcing them to question whether they are holding a calculated abuser to account or simply bullying a severely disabled woman. When courts or protective services step in, the public expects a psychological evaluation to bluntly state that a subject is lying. But forensic psychologists don't write for the public. They are bound by strict ethical codes to use polite, highly sterile medical jargon. This polite jargon becomes a gift to manipulators. It allows them to wave clinical documents around on a live stream as proof of their innocence, banking on the fact that their audience won't realize the document actually says the exact opposite. Take a look at this image. It highlights the core psychological concept required to understand Gabrielle's behavior: the high IQ, low EQ paradox. A person can have average or even high cognitive intelligence while suffering from severely arrested emotional development. Manipulative individuals frequently use explosive emotional dysregulation, screaming matches, sudden tears, and rage as a calculated strategy to shut down lines of questioning. These emotional tantrums are not a symptom of a 61 IQ. They are an active shield designed to force everyone in the room to walk on eggshells. By translating the clinical jargon of her evaluations into plain English, we can map her real-world actions directly to her medical records. This alignment provides a clear framework for understanding the patterns of deception behind the erratic internet drama. Let's start with the first piece of forensic jargon you'll find in these evaluations: over-reporting on validity scales. Translated into plain English, this means the patient is malingering. They are intentionally faking or heavily exaggerating their cognitive and psychological impairments to secure some kind of external gain. We can prove this translation is accurate by looking at this diagram, which separates her behavior into two distinct environments. On the left is her zone of fiction, and on the right is her zone of reality. In the zone of fiction, meaning her social media live streams, she operates in a high-reward, low-risk environment. Here, she actively appropriates stories of severe trauma and fakes pregnancies, extracting sympathy, attention, and financial donations directly from her viewers. But watch what happens in the zone of reality. When faced with official medical intake forms or legal documents where line carries the immediate risk of perjury or fraud charges, she suddenly tells the truth. She correctly checks no to the exact same medical and trauma claims she performs online. The ability to perform a situational risk assessment and selectively turn a lie on or off, depending on the audience and legal liability involved, requires high-level executive function. This behavior demonstrates a level of cognitive complexity that contradicts the claim of a severe intellectual disability. The second piece of forensic jargon to decode is absence of true cognitive deficits. In clinical terms, this confirms she is fully aware of her actions. She possesses advanced planning skills and is actively weaponizing the legal system to her advantage, rather than being confused or overwhelmed by it. To see this executive function at work, look at the geographic scope of her manipulation on this map. Gabrielle has successfully navigated across 3 different states: Illinois, Indiana, and Florida. The most damning piece of evidence is her paperwork. To intimidate her critics into silence, she created and distributed a fabricated 143-page injunction, complete with a forged cease and desist letter from a law firm called Steinfeld and Francis. That law firm does not exist. Drafting a cohesive legal threat, formatting a fake attorney letterhead, and disseminating it to targets across state lines requires a heavy cognitive load. It is a complex, multi-step crime of intimidation. Someone genuinely operating with the mental capacity of a child does not orchestrate multi-state legal warfare and commit corporate forgery. These are the meticulous operations of a highly capable, vexatious litigant. The final clinical term that ties this profile together is willfully maintained reality. This phrase indicates that her behavior is driven by a high-conflict personality, likely involving cluster B traits, such as histrionic or antisocial personality disorders. She actively maintains a distorted version of reality, strictly as a mechanism to control the people around her. This personality type operates on a predictable loop. They intentionally instigate a crisis, react with explosive emotional abuse the moment anyone attempts to hold them accountable, and then immediately retreat into the role of a helpless victim to dodge the consequences. When she publicly degrades her partner on a live stream or exhibits extreme, screaming reactions to basic questions, you are not witnessing a lapse in intelligence. You are watching a calculated method of control designed to keep her enablers entirely off balance. A willfully maintained reality means exactly what it says. Gabrielle is not trapped in a delusion she cannot understand. She is the architect of a delusion she forces everyone else to live in. When stripped of its polite phrasing, a psychological evaluation detailing over-reporting and a willfully maintained reality documents a pattern of behavior that contradicts a medical exoneration. These clinical findings provide a record of someone faking incompetence to exploit the system. The evaluation documents a deliberate effort to use perceived disability as a shield against the consequences of their own actions. Online manipulators rely heavily on the public's lack of psychological literacy. They use this gap in understanding to turn severe, real-world abuse into a profitable pity party, shielded by jargon no one bothers to translate. We should evaluate bad actors by their real-world operations rather than their self-reported claims. Someone capable of forging legal documents and selectively deceiving the courts operates with a level of sophistication that is genuinely dangerous.